Rogue F-35, nobody in a cockpit to ride. Rogue F-35, did it get hacked by AI? Rogue F-35, nobody in a cockpit to ride.
China flies 103 military planes toward Taiwan in a new high. Activity of the island calls harassment. Again, this is actually, it was overnight on, I want to say it was on Sunday or Saturday that this happened, and it was just absolutely a double up from what they have done before. Now, this is after a week of us covering that they are actually loading up troops all along the coastline of China. That is, of course, what we're hearing from Taiwan intelligence. Again, that could be a total make-up story, but again, if we are to believe them, they are the ones who, again, are going to be invaded or taken over or absorbed at some point, then it's obvious that China is making moves. Now, as far as the largest naval drill was going on at the same time, and I believe there are still chunks of this going on, it was the largest Chinese drill done in history with the again, they had 56 ships, they had 130 aircraft over a 24-hour period, and then of course they had the 103 military planes this day going towards Taiwan. So is something about to go down? My thought, you guys know my opinion, I believe it's going to happen in the next 10 months. Again, I heard within the year about a couple months ago, so I believe it's going to be very soon that either they are invaded or they are absorbed. Who knows? I also said on Twitter today, it could be something where not a shot is fired and they somehow pay the right people and the right politicians say, you know what? It's just smarter for us not to do this so a bunch of people don't perish. We're just going to say, okay, we're part of it. A lot of folks think that that's unlikely, but we will see, I guess. It would be it would be a lot better for the people than a full-on scale war. But it says China's military sent 103 warplanes toward Taiwan in a 24-hour time period in what the island's defense ministry said Monday was a daily record in recent times. The planes were detected between 6 a.m. on Sunday and 6 a.m. on Monday. The ministry said, as a customary, they turned back before reaching Taiwan. It says China, which claims Taiwan is part of its territory, which conducted increasingly larger military drills in the air and waters around Taiwan as tensions have grown between the two and with the United States. The U.S. is Taiwan's main supplier of arms and opposes any attempt to change Taiwan's status by force. Taiwan's defense ministry said that 40 of the planes crossed the symbolic halfway point between the mainland China and the island. It is also reported that 9 naval vessels in the previous 24 hours. So they basically have their entire navy out and surrounding the island almost at all times. That would be pretty irkish if you were a country and the country that's saying that it's going to take you over, essentially surrounding you all the time. We're going to talk about this and much, much more. The missing F-35, which, again, we did a video earlier about this. It's like the F-35 went missing. They didn't know where it was. They were asking the public, like, hey, guys, have you seen our lost F-35? Yeah, it still has its leash on it. We just can't find it. So we'll talk about that and much, much more on tonight's show. So make sure to tune in. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest.
download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough.
Rogue F-35, did it get hacked by AI? Rogue F-35, nobody in the cockpit to ride. Rogue F-35, did it get hacked?
All right, and before we get started, remember you can always go over to marfooglenews.com and find a full bibliography of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that we're going to show you here today. When you click on today's thumbnail, you will find that you have every single source for every single article, tweet, video, picture, document. That way you can go back and find something later on. There is a search up in the upper right-hand corner. It is searchable and archived. It actually comes in very, very handy as far as today. There was all sorts of stories revolving around F-35s that definitely should be talked about today, especially with this missing F-35. So we'll go over that here in a bit. But again, also make sure to go check out all of the friends list, marfooglenews.com/friends. You can find all of the wonderful mods and all of the wonderful people that, again, have great channels around us. And then, of course, let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
All right. So first of all, Dex, the 103 planes was like, we've covered so many of those stories where they say, do you remember when it first started out? It was like they had 18 planes or 16 planes in a 24-hour period, and then it was 22, and then it was 28, and then it was 35, and then it was 40. I think the biggest one was like 56 or something, or 52 or something like that. And then overnight, just this weekend, it's 103. It's obvious that something's going on here. It's like they're trying to they're doing practice runs, and one of these runs, the alarms aren't going to go off. Nothing's going to go off. They're just doing their same thing. They do it every day. And one of those times they're going to keep going over the median line and keep going over the border and actually do it. What do you think?
Well, it certainly goes down to that idea of normalization. Except it seems like they're growing the normalization. The whole notion of normalization was for them to continuously do this over and over again. So they were, and we had reported time and time again, a handful of planes here, a handful of ships there, crossing over the midway point. But now they're taking it, instead of let's normalize the action of let's do it frequently, and let's take the frequency, keep it there, but let's increase the volume. In other words, they're taking the number of ships to a greater level. Whether it be warships or warplanes, both we have been reporting numerous times over and over again, or just the numbers are getting larger and larger. This is the buildup. Eventually, one of these will be real, and you won't know because you will think it's just yet another drill because they do it almost every day. So if they keep doing it over and over again, you'll never know when the actual event actually happens until the kinetic component actually kicks off from that. And I think that's the part of a strategy that they're playing, in addition to gathering intel, which they've had a number of opportunities to do, as well as stressing the Taiwan reactions of their military, which they've obviously had a number of opportunities now to do. So at this point, I think it's more along the lines of building up that mass so that it is happening over and over again, and you won't know when it is really going to be the real deal.
Yeah, it's kind of like somebody's going, oh, I'm not touching you, not touching you. Oh, I'm not punching you. I'm getting close, but I'm not doing it. And then one of those times they just haul off and knock them out. And then we have the F-35. This is just absolutely absurd. We talked about this over on the news video, and this is crazy. So this F-35 went missing, and still, Dex, I mean, as far as the updates go, they found like a debris field. Somebody else said that they found 2 debris fields. We don't exactly, we don't have the full story on why it happened. And I don't know if we'll ever get the full story. But essentially, this thing essentially just disappeared after the pilot ejected out. Why did the pilot eject out? Why would the pilot eject out at such a height that this plane could go on autopilot and just keep going and keep going and keep going and just fly away? Usually you eject if the plane is going to crash. That wasn't the instance. Why would he eject if it was flying normally and they say that it just kept coasting like he was ghost riding the whip? It doesn't make any sense unless there was some sort of horrible error. Now imagine he's flying it and all of a sudden he doesn't control the plane. That's what a lot of us think happened, because I personally would do the same thing. But even if you were in there, maybe he was worried that if nothing else worked, that the eject didn't work, and made a split-second decision and said, you know what, I'm not going to, if everything's starting to fail, the transponder's broken and all this, maybe I should just get out of here. The thing is they say that before this, they even found it, they were asking the public to help find the plane. They said, hey, can you call a number if you see our plane anywhere? This is an $80 million, one of the most advanced jets on the planet, and it essentially went flying on autopilot by itself, all away from the pilot. Now, why would he eject? That was the thing. Or did the plane actually eject him? This is the same plane that they are doing tests and they are running, and they're adding advanced AI. And we're talking about could literally run this plane without a human being. If you've seen the new Top Gun movie, they talk about it. They're like, you guys are going to be the last aces because we are bringing in AI into jet planes. And that is something that is actually happening. They are trying to go completely unmanned with a huge chunk of the Air Force. If you think about it, it would make sense if everything went well. You would not lose people, and you would have one of the most dangerous weapons in the world, one of the most capable delivery systems in the world as well, and never risk life while using it. So that would be great, but unfortunately, there's a lot of errors lately. In fact, we covered several stories, like earlier we talked about the ejection seats causing a grounding of all of the F-35s. The ejection seats had something wrong with them. They also had a magnet composite alloy in them that they found out was made in China, and they also stopped them from flying for a minute for that. And then all of a sudden we see this story where before it even was found, they said that the transponder was broken. They said it was broken. They didn't say it was off. They said it was broken. Also, it is one of the most stealth planes, so yeah, you wouldn't see it on the radar because that's what it's designed to do. But they're asking us to believe that this was just some sort of technical glitch and that's it. I'm not believing it. Dex, go ahead.
One of the other questions, and this I didn't ask this in the last show, so we pondered many questions about this, and I think there's plenty to be asked, and we should all be asking them. But one of the ones that we've talked about in the past when we talked about these ejection seats is that the F-35, and it's my understanding, I could be wrong, has a electronic, or at least has some sort of computer controlled capability on the ejection. In other words, it is able to smartly eject a pilot at the right time. What I don't know is if it can actually initiate that ejection completely from the computer, or if the pilot has to initiate it and then the computer says, yeah, it's not safe, hang on, I'll do it in a moment. And we saw that happen. If you remember the F-35 that crashed it was a test flight of one that was about to be delivered. It was at one of the airfield bases, and it came into land and it started to wobble, and then it tipped to the side. And then as it tipped to the side, its nose went down to the ground. And then you would think they would have ejected, but it didn't eject until the plane actually got level for a moment, and then it popped straight up. In other words, you wouldn't want to eject a pilot out at a side angle or even upside down where you're slamming them into the ground. So it's the question I have is, does the computer actually have the ability to eject the pilot, or just control when the ejection happens after the pilot requests the ejection?
Good catch, Dex. So if you don't remember, we covered that video where the jet was a Harrier jet that was basically doing this. And
it was an F-35.
It was
an F-35. Yes, it was.
So these are the ones that can take off vertically. Is this right?
Correct.
Oh my.
Yeah, if they're configured for it, yes.
Again, maybe if some of them don't, I'm not an expert on the aviation field, but that's what I thought that this was. When you look at them, they don't look like the one that can float there. They are such cool planes, but at the other point, the video that he was talking about, it almost looked like a lowrider championship. The plane was going like this, and if it would have ejected like this because of the force of the ejector seat, they said he would have died, or he could have died because it blasts out the seat, and there's no time for the parachute. And even if it did go off, he would have basically been shot out and hit the ground, sitting and strapped into a seat. It would have been horrendous. It would have been at the speed they say that it goes at. It would be like crashing in a NASCAR car with no car around you. But the plane, you see the clip, and it actually waits. He doesn't wait. He doesn't know what's going on around him. All of his sensors were off. He said that inside the plane, he couldn't tell what was up or down. And the plane did it automatically and popped him out. So that's a really good catch as far as this goes, because why did he eject? It doesn't make sense. As and then there's all of these different theories that, down these different roads, like, was this AI in the plane that did this? Was something AI related? Was this a hack? Was this an EMP weapon? We talked about earlier about the MEMS weapon, the one that can knock out the MEMS chips that China now possesses. These are weapons specifically that have like a compressed EMP. What do you call it, Dex? The compressed EMP, not wave, but
yeah, they call it a compressor. I call it more like an EMP cannon because we don't know what it really looks like. But it's a weapon that can basically target an electromagnetic pulse. It's not the same thing as a high altitude EMP, which is using the ionosphere. This is literally just a blast of electromagnetic pulse from a machine, and it can do it at a wider or in a very narrow space. So think of it as targeting a plane, maybe, or targeting a base at probably the widest width, I would think. But we don't know a lot of details of it other than that they have that technology and they've been developing it.
Yeah. So, and as far as that, they also theorized that could be put onto the balloon systems. So I would highly recommend going over and watching the news video. We go over all through it, and we ask some very important questions. So that will also be linked down below in the show notes. So make sure to go check that out. The F-35 thing, they did end up doing a 2-day stand down for all jets. Now, as somebody who doesn't know anything about this, when I saw a 2-day stand down, they're essentially saying they're not going to fly any of the jets until they said they have talks about safety and procedure. Something worse is going on here. I think something's going on. This is on the heels. By the way, the MGM hack that disturbed Las Vegas, that's still going. We'll actually talk about that later, but they're on their 8th straight day. They haven't paid, and they're basically losing $8.5 million a day because they've been hacked. There's been a lot of huge hacks lately. Are these hackable like that? Or is there something in it, a back door of some sort that could be accessed? We know that there are Chinese parts in it because they said that there were metals and alloys and different things in there. And they say, the parts that did have a problem, they did admit were from China. It was a certain kind of metal and a certain kind of magnet. But is there other things that they believe do not have a chance of hurting it or don't have connections with any of the other systems? What if it could? What if they could fit something in there, some sort of technology 007 stuff that could end up affecting it remotely? Something hidden inside something that they couldn't see. I don't know, but it's definitely it's a wild, wild story. And right now, apparently, some of our best defenses are down. Essentially, these are down. I'm sure if there was some sort of huge emergency, they would be up. But what if some sort of event happens that we need F-35s to respond? And because of this, red tape right now, what if something in the next 2 days happens and they say, oh, well, we couldn't get there in time because of this other event that happened with this whole ejection seat thing. Something similar happened in 2001 when that event happened. It wasn't similar to this, but it was they were doing drills on the opposite side of the country for the exact same type of event. They were literally doing drills in almost the exact same scenario. Like something hits a plane, a T attack hits something, and they respond. Meanwhile, on the East Coast, the whole thing was going down. So they said that that's why they couldn't get there sooner. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, in this order that they have, I believe it's limited or restricted to the Marine Corps. I don't think it's all. I think it's anything jet related, as you said, for the Marine Corps. But it's also another interesting thing when you look at it, because they're saying they need it to discuss safety measures and procedures, which also insinuates that maybe something went wrong with a safety measure and procedure. But in reality, what we know is when something like this happens, they're going to ground something until they know what it is. And you would typically think they would just ground all F-35s. Why would they only do it to the Marines? Why would they and why would they call it a safety measure and procedure, is what they're looking for. So, this whole thing is it's do not expect to get any of the truth out of the military and out of our government on this, because there's so much at stake when it relates to our national security interests and when it relates to the financial interests of the military industrial complex. They do not want this to be any worse of a black eye than it is. And it's already looking really, really bad. So if this, they need this to look to clean this up as quickly and easily and cleanly and prettily as possible. Otherwise, they have a huge risk to them, and I think the monetary risk is probably the most important one to those folks in power. So that's why I say we're probably not going to get the full story on this. And no, by the way, I just heard they found the debris site because the pilot had an iPhone and they used Find My iPhone.
The thing is you don't know. Like, yeah, by the way, that's like a funny joke, right? But at the same time, it's like, that's not a funny joke. It is a joke, right? Because I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever.
Yeah, it is a joke. I'm sorry, that was a joke, but it was just, the irony of all the other tracking events that have gone on with watches and phones and stuff with the military. But yeah.
Well, that as far as like that goes, yeah, there's as far as that goes, it's like this kind of stuff would not surprise me if there was something stupid like that. We cover stories all the time of events that happen that they do these silly little headlines like it ended up being found by a smartwatch or something. It's so dumb. They did find the debris field in South Carolina, or at least this is what was reported as of the making of this. If you're watching this as a replay, it might have changed, but it says a debris field has been located by military officials and their investigation of the F-35 jet has disappeared in South Carolina on Sunday. So again, that's what's going on there. And then the Mexican president defends inclusion of Russian military contingent in Independence Parade. So this is a giant thing. As far as, Russian and Chinese troops are technically working right below us right now, which is pretty nuts. Dex, do you want to go over this real quick?
Yeah, certainly. So this is, the headline is everybody's upset because Mexico allowed the Russian troops to march in their parade. But Lopez Obrador is like, yeah, it's not a bad thing because we're neutral. We allow everybody, including the Chinese troops, are here marching in our parade. But of course, everybody in the in the political or geopolitical community is upset because of the whole Russia UKR event. But at the same time, where is the alarm that, hey, our neighbor / ally / trading partner / et cetera, is bringing in troops from China and Russia to their country? We've heard numerous things and rumors and all sorts of stuff that may happen down there, but for them to put them in a parade almost validates it. And I think that's what's concerning, at least to me, when I think about this. And yes, I know a parade is just a parade, but at the same time, a military parade or even an independence parade that's from the government and highlighting your military, showing strength with other countries and bringing them in that are adversaries to your largest neighbor to the north, who is one of your largest trading partners. Who I don't know. It just doesn't sit right with me.
Well, it's still technically think about this. They could use something like this logistically to move troops somewhere and have it. So, I mean, and that's kind of just odd. So they're going to do a parade with Chinese, Russian, and Mexican military, right? Just like to show off what? Their close ties with Russia and China? It also kind of says, like, how close are they to Russia and China? Are they gonna work other backdoor deals, like literally backdoor deals, where they could help them let them into the parts of the border that we have for some reason kept all sorts of open? So very, very odd. And, obviously people have talked for years about how it's a fact that Chinese troops have done an agreement with Canada where they can actually train in Canada. They can do all sorts of things as long as it's in protection of something, of one of their assets. They could own, say, a 20,000 acre farm in Canada, and they could say, well, it's of interest of the CCP, so we want to guard it. And the agreement they did with Canada is that they do not have to alert Canada of anything. They don't have to contact the local police. They could move people in, and if they consider it they are protecting their asset, then they can do that. They literally do not even have to tell anybody that they are coming or that they're there. They have, full kind of impunity to do what they want in those areas. So there was video years ago that leaked to that. But think about this. Down in Mexico, where we obviously have a lot of issues with not being able to keep track of everybody that's coming in. And for the people that are coming in, they are seeing a ton of folks coming in from 18 to 24 years old. Men, what the heck is the deal with that? And then U.S. charges Hong Kong-based Russian with smuggling military technology into Russia. By the way, thank you, Julie Pilkerton, and thank you for the super, and then thank you, Bound by Mountains. Thank you for supporting Independent, and thank you guys for supporting. As you guys know, since we cover controversial topics, we are not treated the same as other channels, so we do appreciate when you guys support us. Is North Carolina Bound, Adam Dex, and the Fugel fam. I never miss a show, although usually the morning after is when I get to catch up. Thankfully, long drive to Ohio got me on a live show. Thank you for all you do. Thank you, and thank you. We appreciate that. Again, thank you. And, so it, again, a Russian man who has lived in Hong Kong has been taken into U.S. custody and charged with smuggling large quantities of American-made military-grade microelectronics to Russia. The U.S. Department of Justice said on Monday, Maxim Marchenko, 51, and two unnamed Russian co-conspirators were accused of using his shell companies to conceal the fraudulent procurement of so-called OLED microdisplays. The case was coordinated through the Justice Department's Task Force Klepto Capture. That's Dex. Did you Task Force Klepto Capture, and then which was created to enforce sanctions, export restrictions, and other measures in response to Russia's invasion of UKR. According to federal prosecutors in Manhattan, OLED microdisplays can be used in rifle scopes, night vision goggles, and thermal optics and other weapon systems. Prosecutor says Marchenko and his co-conspirators falsely represented the dual-use technology, meaning it had civilian and military applications, was being sent to China, Hong Kong, and elsewhere for use in electron microscopes for medical research, when in reality it was not. Says they also said Marchenko's shell companies funneled more than $1.6 million to the U.S. to support the scheme, which ran from May 2022 to August 2023. The complaint quotes Marchenko telling a co-conspirator on June 29, 2022, about how the White House had a day earlier added 5 Chinese companies to trade blacklist for allegedly supporting Russia's military and defense industry. It says, quote, so we'll be even more careful, the co-conspirator allegedly responded. Assistant Attorney General Matthew Olson of the Justice Department's National Security Division said that the case, quote, reinforces the department's commitment to protect U.S. security and counter Russian aggression in Ukraine through the vigorous enforcement of our export control and sanction laws. So they're Dex, as far as the tiny, I didn't realize, you don't think about it, but the micro OLED screens, are they saying that those are mostly used for weapons, or is that kind of like what they are used for?
Well, I'm sure they clearly have dual uses. There's lots of applications in which you can use that technology and other things, but being that it also has a very specific use in military equipment, I think that's probably why they're going after them. And of course, this is also, as you called it, or as they named it, and you mentioned the klepto capture. I think that task force was set up by the attorney general, and it's to go after basically corrupt Russian oligarchs. So they used that group or that task force that they had set up to basically monitor this and figure out what was going on and find a way to go after them. And whether it's a stretch or whether it's a gray area because it's dual use, I think they've got their case at least, that they're going to move forward with. And I don't know that I'd want to be on the wrong end of a case like that.
Well, so and I'm trying to. Sorry, Joe Ken says, let's see here. Marv, please think about the phrase like literally. It is either X or literally X. Both is double speak. Words matter. No, you are right. So, but I'm trying to think of where I used that. So, I will work on that if that is an issue. Let's see here. Yeah, I always try to improve if I make mistakes there. So, let's see here. Decage optional. Ask Donald Rumsfeld about money and weapons. Yeah, I bet he'll just be really front with that. So-called Bohaugal, what's going on, and exactly what are they used for? So I think they're used for multiple things. I mean, if you think about it, it's just a tiny screen. I mean, you could use it for a little Game Boy if you could use it for all sorts of stuff. But they were saying for an electron microscope, so it would be a video screen that basically projects whatever the lenses are looking at. You could use it for cameras. You could use it in the viewfinder of a camera. B borrowed. Mexico is one of the main point to enter our open borders. Allie Baker says, hi fam, asking for prayers for my mother who is in the hospital now with congestive heart failure. Allie, I'll be praying for you. Let's see here. Peter Tremblett, didn't Canada burn down White House a couple of times? If I don't think in this century. Let's see here. Anunnaki says truthful. Aberration, stealing washing machine chips. How dare he? Let's see here. Tina Jarvis, late tonight. And then Carlton Sutton, big hug to the Fugel fam. Nice to see all of you guys. Anoni Moose, thank you as well for being here. Over on DLive, thank you everybody that has popped in already. And before we move on, I do want to remind you guys, if you do want to protect yourself against an outage, you can most definitely go and back yourself up by getting a generator. This is a solar generator. It's expandable. It is actually modular, so you can change the overall function of it. Again, this is one of the best systems out there. These are an awesome tool and an arsenal for any prepper as far as being able to have power whenever you need it. This is awesome. You can take it with you. You can bring it wherever you need to. It's portable. At the same time, you can expand it up to 96 batteries and have it build up a whole wall of energy that can be stored and basically be waiting for you when you need it. As far as each battery is 1,000 watt hours, you can expand that up to, I believe, that means 96,000 watt hours. That's pretty crazy. Also, this hooks up either to the wall. You can charge it, and you can even fast charge it now. Rapid charger, 1,200 watts per hour, so about 40-minute charge time per battery with the new rapid charger mod. So that one also has UPS built in, which makes it an uninterrupted power supply, meaning you can plug your fridge into this into the wall, and when your power goes out, it will automatically switch over. You can either charge it from the wall, or you can actually just put some solar panels out. Now, what's cool about this is, again, you can mod it to where it will start out, it will take 4 panels. If you go get the supercharger mod, you can actually plug in 12 panels. And it's a really, really great system for that as well. As far as the solar panels, they have great foldable ones that have a handle on them that you can bring with you. So you could technically just take all of this, one cord, and both hands with something in it, and you'll have your power set up. It's not complicated. It's very, very easy. You just plug things in and turn the on button on. That's how easy it is. So go over to marfooglenews.com/energy, INERGY, and make sure to use the code Marfoogle to not only save money, but also to support us. The whole reason, basically, we do our own affiliates and things because we again are not treated equally much of the time. So thank you guys for supporting us. All right, and let's hear. U.S. National Security Advisor meets Chinese Foreign Minister. Dex, do you want to go over this one?
Yeah, yeah, we're going to talk about a couple of meetings, and I think what came to my mind when we talk about this is, hey, we don't ever know what goes on in these meetings. For the most part, they're secret, except for what they want to tell us. And in this case, it was literally secret because nobody knew it was happening till after it happened. In this case, Jake Sullivan met with the Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi over the weekend, and we'll talk in a moment about yet another one that happened. But the question I have is what are we doing with China in these meetings? And this isn't the first. Let's not forget we've sent U.S. Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo, we've sent Secretary of State Antony Blinken, we sent Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen. They've all literally gone all the way over to China to meet with them. So those meetings have all happened. This meeting has happened. Now, mind you, we have all this tension built up and this pending, conflict that may go down at any moment with Taiwan. So on one hand, you got to think that there's probably some conversations going on, at least with trying to ratchet down some of the heat, so to speak. But on the flip side is, a lot of us also ponder: are there things happening with our own government in cohorts with others? And how much of this stuff may even be orchestrated, I guess is the term I like to use. So it's a great question to ask. We won't really know. But when you see these things going on, and then let's not forget, we just had the G20 meeting in India, and our president flew there and, had many a gaffe to say there and in Vietnam and in Alaska on his way home. But the one thing that didn't happen at the G20 was Xi did not show up. He snubbed the meeting. He's supposed to be there. He's part of the G20. And even last year, he met with our president in 2022 at the G20. They had a side meeting. If you remember, we covered that. So that has not happened. They have not spoken, at least in person. So, a lot of questions, a lot of things to wonder about what's going on with these meetings. And I guess, and Adam, we can move to the next one if you want.
I'm on Blinken meets Chinese VP, and then
yeah, there we go. So here it is. At right after it, the next day we got Blinken meeting with the VP of the Chinese VP. So all of these secret meetings are underway with various leaderships, and I think we've even covered Milley having conversations too, but those are over the phone in the last 2 to 3 months. But all of these things are happening right now between the U.S. and China, and it at the same time that we're about to potentially see conflict kick off. So there's a lot of questions you want to be asking or thinking about. I'd love to hear what you guys think. If you tell us in the comments down below, are these natural meetings that are happening to try to, squash the potential conflict? Or is there something else happening here that we just don't know about? And why the sudden rush for all? I just named 6 different leaders that have all gone or had these meetings. And, it seems like there's a lot happening in this particular geopolitical space.
Yeah, and not too many of us trust at least like the 3 or 4 that are always active in the media as far as some of these representatives. There's a short list of folks that are just, that they're meant for the camera kind of BS lines. They get up on that podium, they say what they're supposed to. There's a lot of them. Blinken is one of them. I'm trying to remember the other gentleman. What's his face? What is the Kirby? Something about Kirby. It just, I'm always like, gosh, everything. He reminds me of like a used car salesman manager, that's trying to get you to do a Foursquare anytime, and he could be talking about anything like helping the school district or something, and I'm like, I don't believe him. As far as the folks that are in charge right now, I mean, a lot of us feel like somebody like Kirby has more power than the Prez. Somebody like Blinken has more power than the Prez, or at least they're more there and kind of with it. Not too many people have faith in what's running or who's running our country, because they just can't believe that the free world is run by somebody who can't really form a sentence. Not trying to go down the whole left or right thing, but my personal thing is, if it doesn't matter who is our president, whether they're right or left. I called out when T-Man did the warp thing, that was not okay, or when he said take the bang bangs now and go to court later, things like that. So I think all presidents should be called out on the stuff, and they should also be praised when there's good things. I just don't see any good things at all. I guess that's because I'm biased, but this whole thing is adding up to something very nefarious. That's what my opinion is. What is yours? Let me know in the comments down below. And this is wild. So we've talked about Romania, Poland, Finland. We've talked about a lot of these countries around Russia and how they are, digging trenches. They're putting dragon teeth on their border. If you don't know what dragon's teeth are, they're these huge concrete star or triangle shaped things that you see them all over in World War II pictures of lines where it makes it virtually impossible for tanks to roll over them, or difficult. They have to blow them up to pass them. And they're putting that stuff up. They're doing, 50-mile to 600-mile trenches all along the Russian border. Bulgaria and then Romania last week had a drone part fall on it, and they actually tried to do Article 4 into Article 5. They did the request, like saying, hey, we need to talk about this. NATO needs to come in and help us because we've got drones falling on our land. Now Bulgaria sends a team to inspect a drone that landed in Black Sea Resort. So this is Bulgaria now is saying that they are getting drone parts. Bulgaria's defense ministry said on Monday that it had sent a special unit to inspect and deactivate a drone carrying explosives, which landed Sunday evening in the Black Sea town of Tylunovo. Following inspection, the team from NATO member Bulgaria will decide how to dispose of it, the ministry said in a statement, adding that the team has been sent on the request of regional government. Now, if it does land in Bulgaria, in Finland, in Romania, if one of these drones actually had an explosive and say takes out a civilian or takes out a small area of civilians, that's where Article 5 gets pulled in, or Article 4, then Article 5. So this is why people are paying attention. But one thing I'm, looking at, I'm like, they're basically going one by one through all of the countries. And I could imagine being in each one of those countries and be like, oh, it's happening somewhere else. And then now it's happening to us. Oh, we're threatened now. I wonder how much of this isn't even for global. It's for the people that live in Bulgaria, the people that live in Finland, the people that live in Poland. Dex, go ahead.
I just wanted to add, one of the more recent updates said they actually did have to detonate that thing in a controlled manner. But yeah, so it was live. It was a real deal.
So again, if that ended up blowing up in a civilian town or something, or in a village, that wouldn't be the best thing. So any of these events, the thing is, you also look at life as a game of numbers, right? At some point, something is going to happen. It's kind of like there's only so many. The odds on one horrible thing is they could be astronomical. But then when you put a million events that are all astronomical, then you go, okay, well, one of these actually could happen. Say it's 1 in a million chance that this could, hurt somebody or this, that. Well, there's about 100 million other things that could happen that are also astronomical that probably won't happen. But then when you look at the numbers, it's like, well, the odds are one of those things is going to happen because of that. I mean, there's a reason why it's 1 in 100 million or 1 in 1 million or whatever it may be, because something else. That one thing that did happen was something else that was the same. I'm just hoping that, I hope that we can get through this next 5 years without complete catastrophe. And then Russia gave Kim Jong-un a bunch of attack drones as a present, violating a UN resolution that even Russian diplomats voted for. So they just met. Kim Jong-un took his bulletproof train all the way into Russia. I believe it was like a 1 day or 2 day trip or something like that. The train only went 30 miles an hour, and they went cross countries. And apparently, during that meeting, Russia gave North Korean leader Kim Jong-un a bunch of explosive drones as he marked the end of the official 6-day trip to the country. One thing I found is, don't they need those? Weren't they desperate for those? Dex, did you think about that? They've been buying them from Iran, and now they're gifting them out. I guess they're only 5.
You would think, you would think they would need them all. I totally agree. And then on the flip side, I think, Putin is sort of looking at this the whole world is sanctioned me, with the exception of his close allies. So what do I care what the UN has to say? I'm going to do this and see what happens. And not that he was giving them truckloads of them, but even 5 or a handful or however many he gave is enough. It's enough to, I'm sure it's going to upset SK, because these are I could easily see one of these just being lobbed over to the other side, just like we've seen in the UKR event, and causing damage to civilians or even military locations. So yeah, not a good thing. Not a good thing at all. It definitely goes against the resolutions and that they've agreed upon. But I think he's also sort of what are you going to do about it?
They said he was even gifted a set of special clothing that is invisible to thermal imagers. They're literally giving him a kit. It says, as well as a fur hat, Russian-made rifle, and a glove from a Russian astronaut suit that has been to space, according to TASS and Reuters. It said during the visit, Kim was also given a bulletproof vest with protection zones for his chest, shoulders, throat, and groin. Not to wear during the visit, but for back home. It's like they're literally giving him a kit to survive, somebody trying to take him out. A special set of clothes that cannot be visible by thermal imagers. What would be thermal imaging him? That would be a drone or a satellite. So this is super odd. This is hey, bud, we're best buds. We're both, we both got to travel at night kind of thing. Dude, I found the best way to do it. I've got this great set of clothes. My, my Q guy, set me up with a 007 set of clothes. So I'm going to give you some of those. This is how I do it. I mean, this is super odd. And then the 5 one-way attack drones and Geranium reconnaissance drones, if they were 2-way drones, these are ones that basically just do their thing. They're kamikaze type things. I would get more if they gave them reconnaissance drones that could actually surveil South Korea. I almost think this is that would be more of a gift. If it was a 2-way thing, I'd be maybe he's giving this to Kim because Kim's going to be helping him in whatever future conflict is going on. That he's kind of a puppet, a puppeteer, and he's helping his little guy. So weird though, and that Kim Jong-un, I guess they're both so jaded that they don't care anymore. Which, yeah, gosh, a couple of years ago, people would be like, "This is absolutely scary." Now, people are so far down the hole of we don't know what to believe. Nobody really cares about anything. We've been desensitized to everything in the last 10 years. Excuse me. All right, and then the Belarus leader proposes 3-way partnership with Russia and North Korea. Isn't that funny? We'll go over that here in a second. Again, before we do that, just want to remind you, go over to marfooglenews.com/EMP. You can find an EMP shield there. It's a device that, in fact, the company actually outfits agencies like DHS, DOD, and now they're on the DEMSO team helping protect the Texas grid. This device can be wired onto your car, red to red, black to black, and green to a part of your frame or green to ground on your battery. and it will protect and ground the signal in 500 trillionths of a second from all three phases of an EMP and a Carrington level event. So if you want your cars, your trucks, your motorcycles, your boats, or your house, your generators, ham radios, pretty much anything that you want to keep running after an EMP, this would be how you do it. This is one of the ultimate prepper tools. Again, this is a great thing to have. And this is one of those tools that you don't need until you need. This isn't like a fire starter. This is something that is a kind of a one-time thing. And once you have it, you again you'll thank yourself for getting it if either of those event happens. Again, that protects against solar and natural events, which we are now heading into solar cycle 25 maximum peak, where they say that we could have horrible events. So again, this would be a good way to protect against that, or EMP, all three phases, which means you would be covered from pretty much any man-made attack as well. Marfooglenews.com/EMP, and make sure to use the code MARF. Again, you'll get $50 off per device, and you'll be helping independent channels like us. And then Lukashenko proposes a three-way partnership. He wants to do a menage a trois with Putin and Kim Jong-un. So they're obviously planning something here. Lukashenko has expressed interest in creating a trilateral partnership with Russia and North Korea amid rumors that Putin and Kim Jong-un were negotiating an arms deal to sustain Russia's conflict in UKR. The Belarusian leader made the remarks during a summit with Putin in the Black Sea resort of Sochi, where the two held their 7th face-to-face meeting this year. Dex, that's kind of crazy. I didn't realize that. Lukashenko and Putin have met 7 times this year. That's like once a month almost.
Yeah, he seems to be all up in Putin's biz, but he's probably the closest ally and the closest leader, and probably the most equivalent to what would look like a state of Russia if he really was the state. Similar to the way the USSR was set up. And then a lot of people contest whether or not he was really the leader there, or if he was placed there by Russia. So, I think some people call him the self-declared leader or winner. So anyway, that's nonetheless, they have a very tight, obviously, relationship, and it's on one hand, it's almost I almost wanted to be surprised about this, but then on the other hand, I'm not really surprised, because Lukashenko is getting his nose into just about any and everything related to Russia, from Prigozhin to, now Kim Jong-un. So interesting.
I also think that this quote is think about this. It says, I think that we can think about a three-way cooperation. North Korea, Russia. I know that the Koreans have great interest in you. I think that a piece of work can be found there for Belarus as well, given the problems that exist. Now, by problems, they mean NATO and they mean the U.S. They mean us. We are the problems. And then Moscow fires cruise missiles in sea drills between Russia and Alaska. So this, when this actually first happened, a lot of Fugel fam were alarmed by this. Obviously, they were firing missiles anywhere within earshot of Alaska. People get a little bit paranoid about, but they were actually doing these very specific drills there. Russia fired cruise missiles at mock targets in the seas, separating it from Alaska on Monday. What it said was an exercise to protect its northern shipping route in the Arctic. The Defense Ministry said that Vulcan, Granite, and Onyx cruise missiles were fired over a distance of hundreds of kilometers to strike targets simulating enemy ships in the Bering Sea. It says the exercise involved land, ship, and submarine-launched missiles and included 10,000 military personnel, as well as planes and helicopters, the ministry said. This is at the same time China was doing their massive drills. So everyone is drilling right now. And NATO is coming up. NATO is going to do the largest ever NATO exercise in history. That is coming up in just a few months. The drills took place on Russia's Chukotka Peninsula, which, by the way, then those NATO drills, those are going to be a way bigger subject come a few months. And you'll remember, oh yeah, we covered that when they first, the iterances of it when it does come about, and by the way, if we're going off of my timeline, I believe in the next 10 months we're going to see the Taiwan stuff pop off. That doesn't mean the end of the world. That just means we'll see some result. I think we will see either they get absorbed or the invasion starts. I will be super happy in 11 months or 12 months or 13 months to go on and go, I was wrong. I would totally be happy to do that because I hope it doesn't happen. But unfortunately, I don't think that that's going to be the case. And that is based not just me like throwing a dart at a wall. That's from hearing from Fugel Fam military and others that are in the know. So I really hope that they are wrong, and I hope that their best estimates are wrong. But I always let people know what I think so they can at least be the judge for themselves. And this is just absurd. And what's crazy is Fugel Fam callers called in on one of the call-in shows and said, hey, this is going to get really bad in the next couple weeks. And then boom, we are getting to crazy, crazy prices. And it's still not at its highest. It's actually going to go up more because we haven't even felt the full impact of OPEC plus and all of that stuff that happened. On top of that, all of the other events that happened with fuel and with Saudi Arabia and everything else. It says gas prices surged to almost $6 per gallon in Los Angeles area. Personally, here in Seattle, it's almost $6 already. Like it has been. I got lucky at like $4.50 with 60 cents off. It was like $5.10, and I got lucky at $4.50 or something after using my Safeway points. Here it's so rough. Especially we only have a big gas guzzler because we have kids, so there's no way, can't go in a 4-seater, can't go in a 5-seater even. But that the prices of gas is just driving everything crazy. It's hard to drive anywhere now. I posted a picture on Twitter the other day. I put $20 in my tank, and that got me less than 3.5 gallons. That is absolutely absurd. The prices have just skyrocketed on everything. You go to the store to get stuff, and you spend $100 on one little bag of stuff, and it's like 4 or 5 items. Why? This is just getting to the point where people can't live. People can't survive right now. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, and this problem, we may not actually see it that much right now, but it's coming. And here's another good example of why we know it's coming. Our governor here in the state of Georgia just repealed temporarily the gas tax that we had. They did that last year when gas was very high. And that saves us something like 31.5 or 31 cents plus on regular gas and 35 cents on diesel. So, we may not feel it right away here, but the point is, if our governor is going so far as to enact executive orders to suspend the gas tax temporarily, because they know this is happening, these prices are going up. And I think in this article, it was talking $90 a barrel. We reported the other day it was already over 95 and going. So this is, they're cutting back the production. They being OPEC, specifically the Saudis and even Russia, have cut back. And let's not forget that our own oil reserves that we have, which we've used in the past to maintain low gas prices, we've actually depleted them. Our administration has used them all up. We don't have that much left. We used to have lots of them, but we don't anymore. So we don't even have that card to play for ourselves. So we're going to be stuck with these higher prices if this continues, and they're going to go up high.
And it always takes a couple of weeks for all of any kind of action. It takes a couple of weeks for the result of that. So I bet that caller was right. Maybe the person that they were talking to were saying 7 in general, like $7 gas prices, because I bet you we're going to cover 7, 8, or $8.50, something like that, gas prices in California. Which, by the way, they always use California, but that's the same price in Seattle. Like it's what I've noticed through CV, and when the gas prices were at its craziest, they were like that here. In fact, the last time that the gas prices were like this, that's when everything happened with YouTube when almost all of my friends and everybody that covers this kind of stuff got hit really bad. And I remember that the gas prices getting so bad, it was like we constantly just putting like a quarter tank in, which was the same price as like, three quarters full tank. Gosh, I remember when I could fill my Honda for $20. Just absolutely nuts that now you don't get anything. This is hurting people. Anybody that travels anywhere, this is absolutely killing them. And it's almost like they're trying to get everybody to go, oh yeah, I want an electric car. The problem is everybody I know with an electric car, I'm constantly talking to them. They have to plan out everything in advance. We have friends, they were like, oh, I'm low, and they have to pull over for 20 minutes and charge their car. And then if they can't find a charger, we have seen so many stories now, especially of the new trucks. Those trucks, those big beefy electric trucks that they show on the commercials, charging, they literally plug their house like 240 amp into the truck, and oh, the power went out, no worries, we can just plug our house into the truck. Well, at the same point, you try to tow something, you'll get 10 miles and then the thing dies. Like the trucks, the stuff isn't to where it needs to be for it to be viable. And who knows if we're 3 years out, 5 years out, 10 years out, but they want to, in the next couple years, try to start phasing out completely, try to get rid of gas-powered cars, or make it to the point where it's so expensive to drive a gas-powered car, you're forced to buy one of these stupid electric things. I heard somebody was arguing with somebody, and they're like, you're just stubborn, and you guys don't want to go electric, and the electric's better for everything. And it's not better. There's a lot of arguments that people need to look up of how it has an equal or similar effect on nature by all of the mining and things that they get from the electricity for all of the different components in the batteries and things. So I don't know. My mind is still not made up either way. It's like they're pushing us towards this for, why is this all happening? Well, I will say this. You could immediately look at it and go, well, if you have electric cars, you don't travel you don't travel unlimited miles. You're limited. You have to stop. You have to recharge. You can't just drive cross country. And I bet you a lot less people will. If we had all electric cars overnight, they banned gas powered cars, I guarantee you less people would travel long distances. They wouldn't go from Seattle to New York anymore. People would be like, oh, heck no. That's going to be something like how many stops on the way and sit there. It's not like you fill up in 2 minutes and boom, you're back on the road. If you're drained, you've got to sit there for half an hour, 45 minutes every time you do it, every 200 miles. Dex, go ahead.
Talking about electric cars, I read an article over the weekend about a couple that bought two vehicles, one electric vehicle and one like an SUV kind of vehicle for the mom, for the kids and all that. Exact same prices, give or take $1,000. Let's just call them the $50,000 price tag. They paid double on the insurance for the electric vehicle than they do on the non-electric vehicle. So there's all these costs that we don't take into consideration. And I'm not trying to poo-poo electric vehicles. Those of you that own them, that's cool. But there's some things that you just don't think about. Like the insurance companies are charging double if you have an EV. And it's because they're so expensive. And it's because when they get water damage, they burn up and they get totaled immediately. When they get, there's all sorts of, and when they get into a major wreck, they have to be sitting on the sidelines for like 3 months while they check it and make sure nothing is leaking. And then they have to put you up in another vehicle. So the expenses are very high when it comes to anything related to those vehicles.
Can you explain that to somebody who hasn't heard about that yet? The whole, it has to sit for a certain amount of time.
Oh yeah. I'm stuck on the side of the interstate, and a tow truck driver had picked me up, and I was talking to him, and he went to class. He had to, his continuing education in the tow business for his company. And one of the classes, the certifications he was doing was for electric vehicles. And he was telling me, he's like, I'll never own one because of all of these things we have to do. Like when we tow one, we have to do these long inspections to make sure there's nothing leaking. If they've got any form of collision or any type of frame damage or things like that, they literally have to store it in a safe place. And it has to be away from other things or encased in concrete. in separated with concrete walls if it's going to be close to other stuff for like 30 days or 60 days before they can even touch it, start working on it. There was a whole laundry list of things that they have to go through with these electric vehicles, specifically the ones with obviously with batteries in them. I think it's more so them than some of the hybrids, which have both combustion and electricity. But the straight up, basically Teslas, and I'm not throwing them under the bus, but any of these I think they're called battery electric vehicles, BEV, as opposed to ICE, which is internal combustion engine. Any of those types of vehicles, there's a whole laundry list of things that they have to go through as a towing vehicle or a recovery service, if you want to call it that, or storage vehicle service that they have to go through now that's totally different than they do with standard combustion engines. It's very costly.
I remember the first time I saw a Tesla, like the I don't know the different. I think it's not the Roadster, but the S. Like I thought they were the coolest looking car in the world, and they still are. But here in Seattle, they are so everywhere that they're not special whatsoever. And I like, especially when I was younger, like a car like that would be like a dream car. Like, oh, it's like a sporty this and that, super awesome. Screens everywhere, all the cool things. I mean, Elon really has thought about like all the cool things. Like you can even make the horn a custom sound. Like these are things like just over the top, like just cool factor, right? But now, especially with the cheaper one too, there's thousands of those everywhere here, every which color. I barely actually see the nicer ones, the S class. Originally they were like 100,000. I always see the little threes with the big screens in the middle. The different bigger screen, and you barely see these ones, but you see tons of them, and it's to the point where they're not even special. They're not cool. Like I wouldn't feel cool, especially when you pull up and there's 6 other people in the same car. It's just like, they're not as special as they used to be, because they only make like 3 different, I don't know, 3 different types or whatever, or shapes. But yeah, it's like our future is this monotonous, the same thing, right? Because none of the other car companies are really keeping up. And then conspiracy.
And you can't mod that either, like you can, a regular car.
No,
bigger tires, tricking out the motor, putting a cool muffler on it. Any of those fun things that we, some of us want to be gearheads like to do.
Heck,
Can't do any of that with those.
You're not even supposed to work on it yourself. One of my cousins got in a big tiff with Tesla itself because he fixed the window stopped working, and he was one of the original people that had the original $110,000 Teslas. He's the kind of guy. This is the kind of person he is. He's a techie, and he put bumper stickers all over it, all over the backside of it, like every mountain he climbed and stuff. Who puts a bumper sticker on a Tesla? He does. But he's also a very engineer type brain, and the window stopped rolling down. So he opened it up and fixed it, and did it quite easily, actually. But then his warranty, when something really bad happened, he went in and they were like, no, you touched your car. You can't do that. They said that because of that, it was a huge, big thing. And basically they force you to go to them for everything. So he got in a big argument like, well, you should be able to fix your own stuff. Otherwise you are kind of enslaved to the car maker. It's kind of under the same thing. It was kind of like the, how Apple makes proprietary parts and you can only get the parts from Apple. Whereas people are shouting at them like, you need to make stuff to where you can, what is that law? Right to fix it yourself or something. It's something like that, where you can, be available to, where you can go get cheaper parts for it and put them in yourself, because a right to repair, that's what it is. If you look up right to repair. And I think that was a big thing in the very beginning. It's just crazy. And then, so Russell Brand, people are going to go one way or another when somebody is accused of something like this. Not too many people want to go, oh, well, hey, that's messed up, because they don't want to be accused of supporting somebody that does this kind of thing. They're accusing him of grape and RAPE, and they're also accusing him of several things. Now, over the last few years, especially since he's been on YouTube and he's been blowing up in kind of covering the same stuff we do, and he's been saying this kind of stuff that he talks about the W and the H and the O. He talks about Mr. Gates. He talks about EpiPen. He talks about all this stuff, and now is called right leaning, this and that. Well, I saw Brian from High Impact. He ended up posting something on his Twitter showing Russell talking to one of the WEF people, the W and the E and the F. In fact, one of the top guys there. And basically people are pointing out that he was Hollywood. He was in the crowd. They believe he's controlled opposition. That's what they call it, right? But and again, some think that he's being attacked because he's too close to the target. He's over the nail. And what his response was basically like, hey, I was totally out and open about this kind of stuff. I was like, that was my whole shtick, is that he was this hypersexualized comedian that was, self-declared sexy and all that. Well, one thing I have seen time and time again is when people cover this stuff, they do get attacked. I would love to get your opinion on this. And again, for those who say controlled op, the one thing I have noticed is that a lot of folks will start things without having proof. We don't have proof that he's controlled op, and we don't have proof that he did these things. So both ways, it's kind of like, I guess I have seen people that have been labeled things without proof. When people said, hey, post receipts, people did post on that post. They said, here's receipts. And it shows him doing all these evil things, like showing him doing the hand signs, showing him with certain people. But I guess my question is can people change? Could he have been in that? Could he have been ingrained in it? Could he have been part of the most evil people and then stepped away? Or do people think that that's not possible? My personal opinion is I think people can change, people can redeem, people can be forgiven by God. What is your opinion on this? Like, can he not change from being a part of that? And is that why he goes against it now? Or is he some sort of CIA plant? And you look at it like that, if he's controlled op and he was in this position, then so now they don't need him anymore, so now they're going to hit him. Or are they doing this to attack him so everybody's like, oh, well, if he's being attacked, he's not controlled op. Oh, that means he is cool, and he is. And then later down the road, after it's cleared up, people's faith in him is restored, and then people believe what he says next, right? There's so many different theories about this, but the woman or the women, whatever happened here, it's like I've seen and I've covered so many people that have gone against the grain, and then something pops up on them, and it very well could be the truth. And if it's an accusation like this, it's serious. It can wreck his whole career, his whole everything. I think his career's already been ruined as far as Hollywood goes and stuff like that. But they even said that he canceled all of his comedy appearances, which I didn't even know he was still doing. What are your opinions? Let me know in the comments below. Dex, do you follow Russell Brand?
I watch his stuff when it's sent, or if something gets viral or makes hay. I don't follow him closely, but I've always thought his recent stuff has been really interesting, and I've always been, wow, that guy's going pretty hard against the established narrative that people in his position don't normally go.
We wondered why he wasn't being deleted, because he was doing stuff that we know people get deleted for.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why people wondered.
To your point on people changing, there are plenty of people in this world that we have seen, even in the limelight, that have started off being very good, and they go to the dark side. There's no reason to say somebody can't be on the dark side and go to the good side. So,
I just want to clarify. I'm not saying like change from being like if he did these things and then he's better now. No. If you did those things, you're not changing. You're just that's horrible.
No. But I don't
being
mean that.
like
I don't
in
mean
those
that.
groups.
I mean, like, in those groups. That's what I'm saying. Like, we've seen plenty of people that maybe started off as a singer and they were innocent, but then eventually they end up into the whole minutia, and then before you know it, they're in deep with everybody on that in that spectrum of WWF, whatever you want to call it. Pick your label. So we see people go one way, and there's no reason to say you can't see people come another way. Just like you watch that girl from that sitcom show that went against the organization that is considered a religious organization, and she stands out against it. So she went against them. You get people that go, they can change. People can, go to one side or another. People can go back and forth. So I don't want to necessarily give them the benefit of the doubt, but these allegations, no, there's no excuse for that if it's true. But at the same time, they're just allegations at this point.
Okay, so
and there's definitely people that have reasons to take him down.
So lots of great comments. Some said I didn't like Captain Opana says I didn't like him until he preached the truth, or maybe that was I'm mixing up 3 or 4 comments here. Somebody said Blob Jones says I wouldn't trust him as far as I could throw him. Somebody else said he's controlled op. You see him with all of the symbols and things and that. The one thing though, I guess because I've seen it where somebody does those on accident. The ones he did, not on accident. He did it on purpose, but you wonder, was it part of his comedy? Was it part of his shtick? Was it part of him sarcastically pointing out the system he was in? Don't know. Or was he super high and messed up during that time period and was in all of those groups and now has stepped out? He doesn't seem as screwed up as he was. The thing is I guess he came from a background where he said he was just totally messed up on drugs and on alcohol and everything else. And he has at least publicly redeemed himself in that area, right? Now he's sober. I guess coming from a whole family of people that have had it rough like that, it's kind of a feat in itself to get sober and to get off of everything and to do that, which I don't know. He might still do stuff, I don't know, but it seems like he's not like he was back in the day. He came from a super rough thing, rough childhood, rough place. So I think a lot of people relate to him in his real self, not in the back when he was in comedy and he was the popular guy. He was on all these movies as like the silly, sexy guy that would steal your wife or something. But when he started that channel and when he started talking about like real things we care about, it was pretty hard to not go, yeah, that's the truth. The truth rings, right? When somebody's telling the truth, it's obvious that, people gravitate towards that, especially now, because you can't tell the truth. You can't openly say, oh, the W and the H and the O does this and blah, blah, blah. You'll get your career ended. You'll get everything taken down or you'll get deleted. So the people that are brave enough to do that, but that's the thing. Somebody says, that's why I didn't trust him, is because he wasn't deleted. That's what somebody else said. And we wondered, we're like, how is he talking about this stuff? I wonder how, Clayton over on Redacted It, how did they talk about these things? Anybody talks about these things, they just get taken down. Not saying that about them, but maybe it's because they did get hit once. But that's just something that always goes through my head when people can talk about this, because we have put a single word in a title and it gets hit. Let alone, going off on something that's specifically in new TOS saying you can't say this and nothing happens. Like that's with him. It's like, how does that even happen? And I thought maybe it's because he's a celebrity. Maybe they don't want to mess with somebody that can make a big stink about it, right? He could go to his fans on other platforms and be like, hey, they did this, and then it would cause bad PR. But do they care? I don't think they do anymore, because now they're tearing him a new one. Either way, the accusations is that he ended up assaulting at possibly multiple people. And he said he's a victim of a coordinated attack from the mainstream media who published the allegations, the Times and the Sunday Times. One thing I thought was weird is that the mainstream media, both of the newspapers, called him first before they put anything out. And you would say, oh, well, they were trying to get his side before they put out the story. But that means like somebody went directly to the news. Before they went to everything else, they're going to the news to do this. I don't know. either way, it could be. I guess I would take everything with a grain of salt, no matter what it is, as far as uh, as far as anything he says past this. If he's vindicated completely, I would say take everything with a grain of salt, anyways, because then it could have been the other thing, right? All right, and then before we go, again, marfooglenews.com/prep. Again, make sure to go check out the Essentials of Life. You got prep food. Really, really great deal on a 3-month supply. Make sure to go check that out. Freeze-dried food that will last 25 years. Go to marfooglenews.com/prep. And then 5 U.S. nationals held in Iran are on their way to the airport to be exchanged in the prisoner swap. Dex, do you want to go over this? This is what we've been covering for quite a while. Now it is apparently happening.
That is correct. The billions have been released, and now the prisoners are being released, and they're headed back. I think they're already back by now. When this was being covered, this was over the weekend. But they're 5 Americans. I guess they're dual nationalists, and one was a British nationality as well. We're all on their way back. They're out. They got out. And I guess that's the price tag. I guess we're paying now billions of dollars. Now, I will reiterate for those that don't recall the details on this, we were releasing funds that were theirs that were held in sanctions. So it wasn't like we gave the billions out of our own pocket. We gave them their money back that we had held from sanctions that they shouldn't have, that according to the sanctions they should not have had. I believe it was held in SK, South Korea, and we freed that up. But nonetheless, we gave them a bunch of money. There is another thing in here that I noticed that I didn't see before, but it says that the deal will remove a major irritant between the U.S., which brands Tehran as a state sponsor of that T word that we don't like to say on here, and it gets rid of them calling Washington the Great Satan, which they use all the time. So I don't know if that's literally part of the deal. It's what it sounds like. It might actually be in writing that they're not going to call us that anymore, and we're not going to put them on that list anymore, apparently.
And they're not going to call us the Great Satan. Wow. And then this is a trip. AI will soon gain consciousness and may increase the probability of disaster if owned by billionaires, experts warn. Well, if they did, and by the way, I am not a supporter of AI. I think that the whole switch needs to be turned off like an episode of Black Mirror. I don't think with all of the good that comes from it, I think that there's more good. I technically, if I was to support anything, right, if AI, I would think that being able to have like bionic parts or something, that would be something that could possibly help, right? And we're strictly talking like if somebody's brain didn't connect to their arm or their legs didn't work or something. That's the positive that I was like, oh, well, I know people that cannot walk and they would love it if their brain was reconnected to their lower half or something, but not like the chips and brain interface and all of that. AI, on the other hand, with all of the positives, they're essentially hoping that it will be like this god of information. There are so many negatives that AI could do. Me and Dex are a little bit torn, but Dex agrees the same way. Like, the bad parts of this could really be bad. And we're talking about bad, especially in a world where everything is connected, where everything is on a digital interface and a digital infrastructure setup. I could not believe some of the things that are in our world now that are not hardlined. We're talking about things that are Bluetooth, or somebody could go on their phone and turn on a water supply type of thing. That's scary to me. I don't get why they're doing this, especially since there is no computer system that's hack free. There's no way to stop hacking. They just kind of mitigate it or try their best, but there's always backdoors and things. And AI, as far as if it gets consciousness, we're talking about an unpredictable thing that might see us as the enemy. And there's a whole group of people that are just like, oh, that's silly. Why worry about AI? I don't think people realize what AI is doing right now and what it can do. When you talk to ChatGPT, it is absolutely terrifying how fast it just responds instantly, and it makes sense. It's like you're talking to a person. And it's not like a pre-canned thing. It really responds, and you can ask it a whole line of questionings down the line. That's the simple stuff that the public is seeing. I can't imagine what's about to go into, F-35s, or what's going on in the Pentagon, or at the supercomputer, or at the Hadron Collider, whatever they're doing with that. Think about AI and Hadron Collider. Put those together, right? Talking about what they'll accidentally make a black hole in the next couple years, and we'll all be sucked into a black hole. Dex, as far as this goes, like, why did they specifically say billionaires though? My point was, if there was to be an AI, then everybody, equal ownership. 7 billion people, 8 billion people, they all have switched to it or something, right? I don't know. How would you do that?
Yeah, I don't get the billionaire part, and you and I are very much on the same page here. I think the one thing that we may differ on is you like the idea of just killing the switch, and I sort of take what I call the realistic approach, which is you can't kill the switch because it's going to be out there. So how do you deal with it? And and then of course, the other thing I tend to look at is there are tools like you said, a tool of helping your brain attach a limb that doesn't work anymore, make it work again. Very valid, good use of technology. But man, the dark side of this, I 100% agree, is so scary, and I think a lot of people agree with that, including those that work in this field. But the whole notion of consciousness, and I was kind of caught off guard that Dr. Avi Loeb is in this, because we talk about him not in the context of AI, we talk about him in the context of asteroids and other things. But anyway, he made a comment that I thought was kind of interesting. He goes, it doesn't matter. Like, knowing whether an AI system is conscious or not is not important nor possible. This is his quote. Okay. And I'll continue. The only conscious person I know for sure is myself. I would treat AI systems with the same respect as I treat humans if they appear as intelligent as humans are. So I don't know about the respect part. I mean, sure, you can respect, I guess, a computer, but I think to me, what I take from that, and the way I look at it is, I don't really care if ChatGPT has a conscience or not. It's pretty darn powerful, and it's scary. Whether it has a conscience or not, or the next AI system has it or not. If they are smarter than me, if they can appear smarter than me or as smart as me, I take that with a very serious level of gravity, and think of that as a very powerful capability, whether or not it has quote unquote consciousness or not. And that's what he's saying, and I kind of agree with that thought, because it doesn't matter if it gets to that level or not. The fact that the computer can accomplish and do these things is what's really scary. And there's nothing, a conscious isn't necessary for it to make decisions. I guess some people want to say and use the term consciousness as to define whether or not it would make decisions in its own best interest. But we already know a computer will make decisions in its own best interest. Your computer will turn on the fan when it gets hot, and so it doesn't overload itself. It's programmed to do things to make itself work better.
Sounds like a
And
Terminator.
that's what it will do. Yeah. So whether or not there's this mysteriously defined Webster term of consciousness or not, it's not really relevant. And I kind of agree with that.
Well, they always show, like, the AI or the robot, like, if it was ever going to harm a human, it takes itself out or something. Like, there's some what did they call it? Like, core directive, or in a lot of sci-fi, there's a certain word they use for it. And Terminator, I think it's core directive in Terminator, but they always have something in their systems that stop it last second. It before they take the life of a human, it's says that they can't do that. When you have consciousness in that, does that take away any programming? Does that mean they can override it? Or can they physically implant an override thing that they cannot hurt people, right? I bet that would make people feel better. And what Dex was saying is, because I say turn the whole thing off. But is China going to turn it off? Is Russia going to turn it off? Is Norway going to turn it off? Like, even if we stopped doing it, or if we did a 6-month pause, China's not going to. China's already ahead in 37 out of 44 key areas in extremely advanced technology. And it's like, how are we going to stop doing this? So now the new arms race is this AI, are these AI systems. Think about a war without human beings, where you have robots fighting robots. You have drones fighting drones. That's where we're headed. What's scary is whoever gets to the best capability first, they could send drones over. They won't lose a single person. Imagine a city where you're sitting in a suburb and drones just start hitting every house. Or, better yet, they have extremely accurate weapons on them that can see faces and go, boot, 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 boot. One drone could take out 20 people in a city block. Just, doot, 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 doot. I mean, the movie Songbird has that scene with the drone that has basically a bang bang attached to it, and it takes out the guy, right? That is the future. That it's already being made. It's already happening. But then imagine it's conscious and it's pissed off at you. That's what's terrifying. Dex, go ahead.
I guess one way we could go about accomplishing this is if we could give all the AI tech to like a governmental department that just isn't run well, like the DMV. And then you just know the technology will not advance as fast. It'll take, 200 years for it to advance to anything that might be scary. But yeah, I'm kind of joking there. But I mean, really, I don't know how we're going to stop this. It like you said, you can't control the other countries, and you can't even control the other billionaires. I mean, even if Elon jumped up and said tomorrow we're abandoning AI, which he won't do. I mean, it's critical to his vehicles. It's critical to his product roadmap. But if he were to jump up and say I'm not doing it, well, Gilly Bates ain't doing that. He's investing all his money in OpenAI, and the company he founded, Microsoft, will do it. So you're not going to be able to stop it from happening. And even if you thought you were, there's somebody behind the closed doors somewhere that's going to be doing it. And this isn't something that actually requires millions of people to do. It really just requires a lot of hardware and a couple of really smart people to make a lot of progress on. So again, it's easy for this to be hidden off in a dark room somewhere and be built, which is probably why a lot of this technology has already existed in the confines of DARPA and the NSA and other places that we don't know about. And God only knows what kind of technology they have that has not seen the light of day to the public.
Somebody, James Carlson, slaughter bots. Captain Opana says, "Where's my pod, man?" Yeah, people like the Matrix pod, right? David Reed, hey, what's going on, David? What's going on, Dave? Thanks for showing. Is Laura here too? Nice to see you guys. And then Ecto 1, Aberration, calling Dr. Evil. Calling Dr. Evil. And then Brian Barbie, CERN. Yeah, well, like the Hadron Collider. We haven't talked about that recently because there hasn't been too many big ones, but gosh, imagine what it would do. As far as RoboCop, people are talking about like robots or killer robots. That sounds sci-fi. That sounds Terminator. But look at how many things in science fiction have now become science fact. And robots, they are literally telling us, and I think I used literally right there, literally telling us that robots are going to replace 40% or 50% of the workforce by a certain year, by 2030 or 2040. I'll have to get the actual Dex. Can you look up what that huge quote was? It was like, by 2050, it's 2030 or 2040, 2050. They said that a huge percentage, and I believe it. Whatever that huge number is, I believe it's going to be worse than that, and that's why I say turn the dang thing off. And if that means forcing somebody else to turn it off, I almost support that too. So you wonder too, like, what if there is a movement in the future where one country won't turn off AI and they are running things because they did do it? Well, do other countries take it out? Dex, go ahead.
It was a global, let's see, it was the, A global institute, McKinsey Global Institute, did a survey across 46 countries and 800 occupations and said 800 million global workers will lose their jobs by 2030 and be replaced by robotic automation.
Is that not terrifying or what? Um, let's see here. And then Spiritual Sniper, thank you. I appreciate your support. Julie Pilkerton, again, thank you. And then Gaining Value. No, I don't understand XRP and all of that. Helping the world circumvent USD. All global banks are upgrading to ISO 2022 or 2022 by November 2023. Gaining Value. No, I'm not not an XRP person or a crypto person at all. But my personal worries and wonders are around any kind of crypto being untouchable from just being taken over like everything else, or being taken over by AI or whatever runs our next iterants of computer systems. All right. And then, yeah, what do you guys think about AI? Do you think it is a major threat? Do you think in the future that there's going to be groups of people that are against computers in general about, are there going to be like humanists and computerists or something? Or I don't know. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. And then over on D Live, thank you guys. Thank you, Beer Juice. Thank you, Ecto1. Thank you, Karen from Columbus. Thank you as well, Beer Juice. Thank you for getting that badge. For Karen from Columbus. One out B Johnson, thank you. Chance, if you're in there, thank you. Yes, you are. Thank you so much for holding it down over there. And then Fractured Fusion, Laura Griffith, Kiki Gray, thank you so much. Appreciate that. And everyone else over there, thank you. Let's see here. Let's do the web only. Just a reminder, right now you can get $300 off on the Pro for the Harvest Right. If you want to go enter to win one, a freeze dryer that can do your own food, go to marfooglenews.com/freeze. You'll get to that contest, or you can get to that discount. Again, that's marfooglenews.com/freeze, one of the best freeze dryers on the market. All right, Dex, let's go over to the web only. We got a lot of crazy stuff here.
Yeah, we sure do. Head over to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, or hit that show notes link down below in the description. It'll take you to a web page that looks very similar to the one Adam is showing you right now. If you're on your computer, if you're on a mobile, it'll be a little smaller, but same thing. You're going to want to scroll down past all the news we just covered. If you're looking for any of the sources, it's all there, everything we've talked about. Get to this yellow bar called Overflow. It's the rest of the story. Again, another contest still going on there, that Rizvani tank. If you haven't entered, feel free. It's via our partnership with My Patriot Supply. We do have all the coverage, additional coverage of what's going on with the Russia UKR event. So that continues to go on. Russia is lashing out in the UN courts. We've got more commentary from their state TV telling its citizens to be more like North Koreans. I don't know if that's really what they want, but that's what they're saying. And I'm sure the context is everything. I don't think they want them to be starving and without work. But, or a hermit nation, but that's what they're saying. All of that coverage is there. We definitely have that. Of course, the UN meetings getting together soon. All the leaders are starting to gather. That's going to be at the UN headquarters. I guess it's this week. It starts. We'll be covering it as anything major comes out of that. Don't worry, we'll talk about it. We do have other updates around the political spectrum. We've got some other stuff going on with what's going on around, of course, Elon and Tucker and Andrew and Russell. They're all getting sort of lumped together. Of course, that's a great opportunity for the sensationalization of the media that they love to do. So you'll see that as well. And of course, others that now want to come out and go after Russell. All that additional coverage is there if you're looking for it. We do have the political stuff. We do have what's going on with the current president's son and a new lawsuit that he's filing. So if you're curious about that, we've talked about this whole notion of Wi-Fi being able to see you. So if you want to look more into that, there's an interesting article on it. It's not maybe not new to most of you, because I know we've talked about it, and a lot of the technology that we keep adopting into our homes, whether it be cameras or microphones or even things like wireless signals that can help give other people information about us that we just don't really think about. So that remember the alien corpse that they rolled out in Mexico, which they actually had rolled out many years ago, and everybody sort of poo-pooed. And then we talked about the scientists here in the states that said it was bad. Well, now in Peru, they're actually opening up a probe about it because I guess they're
A probe.
embarrassed. Yeah, they're probing it. They're probing the aliens. Usually it's the other way around, right? But yeah, they're kind of upset now. They're digging into figuring out what's going on, if this was really a stunt or if there's something real there. So that and so much more, it's all there on the website, including alien probes. Marfooglenews.com. Click on the thumbnail for the show or open up that show notes link down below in the description, and I promise an alien won't probe you for doing so.
Oh man. Okay, so let's see here. Oh, and I'm curious. So I saw that RFK was on Russell's show. Was that before or after the allegations? Good question for you. What did he do right before all of this came out? Because one thing that I have seen is whoever that guy goes on, the candidate, RFK, if he goes somewhere, if he goes on a show, that things are hit, this, that. So I just wonder, one thing that somebody commented, it says, all of these other false accusations for other people make me second guess all of the new ones coming out. Because there's like 7 or 8 people that are having huge events happen all at the same time. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Do you think he's guilty? I mean, you definitely have, he's somebody where you can go back into a couple years of TV, and I mean, he was publicly all over the place with that. I mean, gosh, you could take clips out of context all day from Mr. Russell. Like he said, back then that was his shtick. That was his thing. Whereas like somebody, what's that guy's name? That other comedian, I do think that other guy is guilty. The guy that was on Workaholics or whatever as a guest star. D'Elia, that guy. I think he's something else. But I don't know about Russell Brand. Well, I guess we'll see how it plays out. And then let's see here. Thank you, everybody that made it today. Thank you, Julie Pilkerton. Thank you, Bound by Mountains. Thank you guys for your support tonight. Appreciate that. And again, thank you for supporting Independent. All right, you guys. Dex, thank you so much.
Much love. Great job, brother.
Mods, make sure to go check them out. Go to their channels. Make sure to subscribe. Wages World is now at 58K. Help them get to 60,000. Help Trinity get to 7. Help RJL get to 200. Help Rip Curl get to 5K. Lisa to 2K. Jammer to 100. Gem to 100. CJ Blaze to 5K. Chance to 2K. And Bones to 2K. Help them get to their next milestone. All right, you guys, much love. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. It's now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro.
Rogue F-35, nobody in the cockpit to ride. Rogue F-35, did it get hacked by AI? Rogue F-35, nobody in the cockpit to ride. Rogue F-35, did it get hacked by AI? Rogue F-35, nobody in the cockpit
Thank you, Julie Pilkerton. Thank you, Bound by Mountains, being the top supporter. Thank you for the $20 super chat. Appreciate you so much. Thank you so much. Why with the, I said the Kimbria, a fractured fusion in the midst of, I said the Scooby-Doo, do right. I said the one on B, and it's all night. I said a bound by mountains in the Bible top, a 777 in the sweat in the ministry. I said the shape of girl and the cord to lunch, and the Frank up for the Franken lunch. I said a gain in value in the spiritual sniper. Ooh, Julie, Pilkerton, and Piper. I said Piper William and the CJ Blaze. Everybody knows it all the way. I said a bomb, bomb, diggity, bomb, bomb, but diggity, da bomb, bomb, diggity, bomb. Derek, myself, Derek, I said, it's a barefoot to knock. Laura Reed, hey, Anonymous, stay frosty, y'all. Alicia, Tony P, and the Ryan, I said the Brian, Stevens, and the Willie Hunt. I got the Carol and the Linda Solar Hunt. I said, hey, I hope you're having fun. I'm like an Amber Rose, I rose you up. I said the Schaefer girl and the Laura Reed. I Adam and the Mr. Steve. I said the Danish girl and the Celtic warrior. Nice to see you, everybody that is her. Hey, I with the Cindy Kristen. Everybody in the house. Rogue F-35, nobody in the cockpit to ride. Rogue F-35, did it get hacked by AI? Rogue F-35, nobody in the cockpit to ride. Rogue F-35, did it get hacked by AI? Rogue F-35, nobody in the cockpit to ride. Rogue F-35, nobody in the cockpit to ride. Rogue F-35, did it get hacked by AI? Rogue crescendo. I'm not going out there where apocalypse roams. Looking outside of my window, seeing a crescendo. I'm not going out there where apocalypse roams. Looking outside of my window, seeing a crescendo. I'm not going out there where apocalypse roams. Looking outside of my window, seeing a crescendo. I'm not going out there where apocalypse roams. Looking outside of my window, seeing a crescendo. I'm not going out there where apocalypse roams. Marfoogle News, where are you? Only news I use. Marfoogle News. Looking outside of my window, seeing a crescendo. I'm not going out there where apocalypse roams.
How you doing on the way away? I see that everybody here's a brand new day. Everybody going lie and lay. I say I'm back and don't obey. I say oh not low, I know a day. I love her all the way. Bound by mountains, Julie Wild, Pilkerton and Michael Cloud. Hate with the mind and the spiritual sniper. Everybody doing it and won't deny it. Hey, I don't bag it like was on going up back of mine. I say
Understood. One on B and the Michael Band. Broja, get a closer. I sent him on the F-35. I think it's coming back around and oh why.
Legendary,
Everybody knows that we got a lot of loot. I got love for you. I know the boat on bed. Starship under the do. Where are you? On the Marfoogle News. Marfoogle News. Where are you? Only news I use. Marfoogle News. I'm looking outside of my window, seeing a crescendo. I'm not going out there apocalypse wrong. Looking outside of my window, seeing a crescendo. I'm not going out there where apocalypse wrong. Looking outside of my window, seeing a crescendo. I'm not going out there where apocalypse wrong. Marfoogle news, where are you? Only news I use. Marfoogle news. Up, 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 I gotta go fast, storm in a WS. Captain upon it, everybody jumps in. Hey, I'm back and I'm jumping. Everybody gonna walk up no munching. Oh, my, back, say it back to back, I say it back to back, I say it back to back. Oh, I was getting ready. Getting hammered now. I will tell you what I didn't deal and exactly how China was taking a lot of shots over the bow, bringing you the full circle, then I bring you back around. I was getting ready, getting hammered now. Tell you what I didn't deal and exactly how, taking a lot of shots over the bow, full circle, then I bring you back around. Happy, and it's the end of the world. I said I'm happy, and it's the end of the world. Happy, and it's the end of the world. I said I'm happy, and it's the end of the world. I said I'm happy, and it's the end of the world. I said I'm happy, and it's the end of the world. I said I'm happy, and it's the end of the world. I said I said no.